Hi, I'm Kermit the Alien, and you're watching Resto Roomba. Welcome to the first ever episode of Resto Roomba Cleaning Wars, the show where I test and compare different cleaning robots to see which ones are the best. Today we are taking a look at iRobot Braava's mopping robots and iRobot Scooba's, the legendary floor scrubbers. Are the Scoobas really so much better as people make it seem? Watch this video to find out. Let's meet today's competitors. In the Braava corner we have the bigger brother 380T as well as the small but deadly 240 Jet. And in the Scooba corner we have the classic but almighty 385, the 450 being the newest Scooba model with all the bells and whistles, and the cutest cleaning robot ever made, tiny Scooba 230. I will be comparing these guys in 3 different tests. First, I'll do the crayon test in 3 different difficulties for every robot. First one being the easiest, second revealing how good each robot can scrub, and the last one showing the dirt collection ability for each one, i.e. how well the dirt is collected or is it being spread around like with a normal mop and bucket method. The second test will include just the 2 larger Scoobas. I will divide a large floor plan into 2 sections, run each robot on every section and see who collects the most amount of dirt. And finally, the last test will also be based on a divided floor plan, this time into 3 sections, where I will run the remaining 3 robots and then run the Scooba 450 on every section and save the dirty water. The section with the cleanest water wins. Can you guess the results? Before I run each test, I also quickly measured the noise level of every robot. Braava 240 Jet is around 53 decibels when normally running, around 67 when spraying water. Braava 380T has a constant noise level at around 55 decibels. Scooba 230 is around 67 decibels, comparable to the Braava Jet when spraying. Scooba 385 measures at around 76 decibels, however this one's sound I find the most annoying. And lastly, the 450 being the loudest, measures at around 78 decibels, which surprised me as I thought it was quieter than the 385. I really like its sound, so maybe I was biased. Time for the first and longest test, the crayon test. Here is how level 1 will more or less look like. For the larger robots, I made a larger test field as they simply wouldn't fit. First, the Braava Jet 240, which did an astonishing job, leaving almost nothing behind. It did not spread the color and leave it in the joints and did amazingly in the corners. Good job, Voyager! It gets 2 points for corner cleaning, 2 points for joints, and 2 points for overall stain removal. Now the second Braava, who didn't do as well. In fact, it did the worst out of all of them. It completely missed the corners despite it being square, so 0 points for that. It spread some color into the joints, but it's not too bad, so it gets 1 point, but for overall stain removal it gets the maximum amount of 2 points. The small Scooba 230, despite being round, did an amazing job in the corners, leaving almost nothing behind, so 2 points. It did push some color into the joints, so it gets 1 point, but for overall cleaning performance it gets 2. Scooba 385 did not do as good of a job with the corners, probably because it's so big. It gets 1 point. It did push color into the joints, but collected the majority of it. Still, it gets 1 point as color was left there. Overall cleaning performance was amazing, however, and it gets 2 points. Scooba 450 did almost exactly the same with leaving corners, pushing color into joints and removing all the stains. It gets the exact same score as the 385. Here are the points for the first round. Now on to the scrubbing test. The small Braava Jet 240 did not do as amazing of a job as its first one, probably mainly because of its weight. It did reach the corners and didn't push much color into the joints, so 1 point for each category. However, it left the stains almost untouched despite me running the Braavas 2 times for each test. 0 points for overall cleaning performance. 380T wasn't much better too. Once again leaving the corners untouched, so 0 points, pushing the most color into the joints, so 0 points again, but because of its weight it did better with removing stains, and it gets 1 point for that. Scooba 230, despite it being the tiniest one, beat both of the Braavas by a landslide, reaching the corners pretty well, gaining 1 point, leaving absolutely nothing in the joints, so 2 points for that, and almost completely removing the stains, getting 1 point. 5 did a similar job with the corners, gaining 1 point, but absolutely destroyed the rest, leaving nothing in the joints and removing the stains extremely well. In fact, the middle it removed completely. The 450 sadly missed the corners, but it was just as amazing with the rest. It gets 2 points for the joints as well as the overall cleaning performance. Here we have the scoring results so far. One more round to go, the collection test being the hardest one. Braava 240 left the floor evenly pink. It did reach the corners, however, and removed the words, but did not collect the pink at all. It also left some in the joints. It gets 2 points for corners, 1 for the joints, and 0 for the cleaning performance. The 380T did the worst job again, slightly touching the corners but pushing a lot of color into the joints, so 0 points. It did collect more pink than the smaller one, probably because it has a larger pad. It gets 1 point. Scooba 230 did amazingly with the corners, removing almost everything. However, it did do very poorly with the joints. When it comes to removing all the pink, it did an almost perfect job. Scooba 385 did a little worse when it comes to the corners, but heck of a lot better when it comes to everything else. It removed all the pink and left just a tiny bit in the joints. Lastly, the 450 did do a very similar job to the 385, removing all the pink, leaving the corners and removing even more pink from the joints. And here are the final results. Are you surprised? I for sure am. I thought the small Scooba 230 would do a lot worse and the Braava 380T do a lot better. Interesting. Let's compare the two big Scubas next. Time for the second test, the 2-section test. I recorded this one day after my 18th birthday party in June, so the floor couldn't be, the cleanest. First, I prepared some cleaning solution in a bottle, so I know each robot gets the same amount of water and solution. I divided the room into 2 sections with some books and ran the 2 big Scubas at the same time. The 450 finished first with the 385 following shortly after. The major pro I see with the 450 is that it dries the floor nicely, while the 385 kinda dries it but does leave a lot of water behind. I collected the water into 2 bottles and compared it. The 385 not only collected more water, but it was also dirtier. I did a second round with switching the robots around, and the results were the same. 385 collected way more water and it was dirtier. The next day I did the same thing, switched the robots around, and once again had the exact same results. The 385 totally beat the 450 in this test. However, the 450 does get extra points for actually leaving the floor dry. The third test, being the 3-section test, I did in the same room after a few weeks, so the floor could get a little dirty. Only this time I divided it into 3 sections as the name suggests. I put each one of the smaller robots into a separate section and let them run. To my surprise, the small Scooba 230 finished first despite me running the full 40-minute cycle. It's usually the Braavas that finish first. Also, the 380T did error out 2 times because it kept getting stuck under the couch. This was the only time I got any kind of error on any of these tests. I let the floor dry completely and run the Scooba 450 on every section on the large room mode, so it gets up as much dirt as possible. After each cycle, I collected the water into plastic cups. Don't worry, I'll reuse them later for resin, and compared the results. Interestingly enough, both of the Braavas did a very similar job, while the Scooba 230 completely destroyed them despite finishing first. I guess it kinda shows, even the smallest Scooba can beat the largest Braava when it comes to cleaning. We have now officially finished all of the tests. Are you guys ready to see who won and which robot is my personal choice? Place your bets in the comments if you want. The results are in, and taking the first place on the podium is the Scooba 385, or any other 300 series Scooba really. It did exceptionally well with the corners, collected the majority of water it dispensed, did an amazing job with collecting dry debris, and basically just won almost every single test it participated in. Also, another plus is that these are quite easy to get your hands on, and for cheap too, as this is an older model. Don't count on getting a new one, however, you'll have to go second hand. Coming in at second place, we have a tie between the smallest Scooba 230 and the Scooba 450. Considering the test results, the smaller one of the two should be first along with the 385, but I do have some major nitpicks. For one, it takes forever to charge at 8 hours in total. It can only handle small spaces, maximum 14 square meters. After this, it becomes ineffective. Lastly, they are almost impossible to find and aren't repairable. It's really hard to get spare parts for it. I have no clue how I managed to find 2 of them, both in working condition. Scooba 450, however, is an amazing robot. It didn't clean as good as the older model, but is still my top choice. Mainly its sake of how easy to clean it is, and the way it behaves. The newer algorithm is much better. I have complex rooms in my house and the 385 tends to miss some spots. However, it's never the case with the 450. It takes only 2 hours to charge. I love its design and user interface. The room size selection mode and the status ring really make it shine in comparison to all the other robots. If I had to recommend one, it would be this one. They can get pretty expensive, but trust me, it will be worth it in the long run. Just wait a little and get yourself a good deal. Third place has been taken by the small Braava Jet 240, a model that you can still get new. For mopping robots, this is an amazing choice. It might not compare to Scooba's, but if you want something new in box, this is a good choice. It is the most effective in smaller spaces, but it does get the job done in slightly larger rooms too. It's small, quiet, and charges very fast. You can buy washable pads and extra batteries for it, and I also like its algorithm. Braava 380T or any other 300 series takes the last place. It does get the job done, it's just not the best one. The algorithm can get kind of annoying, especially when the batteries in the navigation cube get low on power. The cleaning job is comparable to just using a Swiffer, just, the job does itself. These can be bought new, however in the color white. It's the same core robot, just different colors. I hope you enjoyed the first episode of Cleaning Wars. If you did, please leave a like and consider subscribing to my channel. If this video helped you, or you just want to share your opinion on these robots, leave a comment down below. I would also like to give a shout out to RoboVac Collector, who recommended my channel on his video. Kermit the Alien signing out. I hope to see you guys soon. Peace!